Hi there, welcome to the tutorial for the Bloom Folio. I'm really excited about this one because I think it has some really nice features in it. So I'm going to start with making our offset gatefold closing cover. So what you are going to need is your one large piece of chipboard. So this one is 9 1/4 in height. The 9 1/4 is your height by 10 1/4. You are going to have two spine pieces that are 9 1/4 by 2 1/8 of an inch. You're gonna have a 9 1/4 by 3 1/4 closing piece and a 9 1/4 by 7 inch closing piece. So that's what we're going to start with. I think we are going to need 3 pieces of 12 by 12 cardstock, maybe even 4, but we're going to start with 3 pieces. So I'm going to get what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these to size and height. I haven't done it yet, but our cover is going to be 9 1/4. I want to have an inch on the bottom and an inch on top, so 9 1/4 plus 2 will make 11 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to cut them to height. So then I am getting 2 sheets, and what I like to do is draw myself a line at 1/2 inch on the shorter side, right? So this is 12 inches, this is the 11 1/4, and that is on that side. I want to have a mark 1/2 inch from the cut edge. And I'm going to do that on 2 pieces. And let's get some tape. So I have 3 8-inch tape here, and I'm going to apply that tape close to the cut edge, so I have a little bit of space between my tape and my pencil mark there. That's when you use 3 8-inch tape, right? If you're going to use 1/2 inch tape, you might want to draw your line a little bit further away from the cut edge so you can fit your 1/2 inch tape there. That would be fine as well. Give that a quick burnish. This is going to be a long piece, so you're going to need some room. I'm going to remove the tape backing from one piece, get the other one with the tape, and we are going to overlap these by 1/2 inch. So I'm going to align it with the pencil line, drop it on there. If you're a little bit off, no big deal. It's not the end of the world, but just do our best to get it straight. And then the last piece, again we remove the tape backing here and combine your last piece. Again overlap it by that 1/2 inch. So I'm going to see now how my overlappings will end up if we start 1 inch from this cut edge. It's not in frame for now, but I'm just need to see where my overlappings will be. That's better. Way better. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. Yes, okay. We're going to start with a 3-inch part. Okay, I know how we can do it. I'm going to draw myself a guideline. I just like to do that. 1 inch from the cut edge on the left hand side, because I like to work from left to right. 1 inch, and I also do that on the bottom, and you don't have to go all the way to the end. You want to give yourself a good starting point. So I'm just going a little bit over the overlapping. That's probably way further than we need to be, but because I'm going to use my ruler as well. So what we are going to do is I'm going to try to get it in frame for you. We are going to start with our piece that is 3 1/4 by 9 1/4. I always give a good coverage of double-sided tape. I like to do that. I have some rolls with some wider inch tape, like 2 inch or 2.5 inch rolls that I use for it. But you can use your smaller tape as well, as long as you go along the edge and then maybe fill it in a little bit with 1 or 2 strips in this case. That's fine as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put one corner, line it up with my intersection of my pencil lines here on the bottom. So I'm going to place that one there and then align it along my pencil line on the side, and then if I did my job right, I would also be aligned with the pencil line along the bottom. And give that a burnish. Now we need to determine the space between our chipboard pieces. For that I like to use some spacing tape. So if you want to do that as well, you can use 1/4 inch tape. That would work perfectly fine. I like to use this tape. This is from Walmart and it's sold as a 1/8 inch tape, but it's closer to a 3/16 inch, 3/16 of an inch. And for me that's the perfect spacing, but a 1/4 inch, that would be just a hair wider than this spacing, and that would be fine as well. And of course with all this paper here, I don't know where my stuff is. So I just place it against the chipboard edge, burnish that, and now we are going to place one of our spine pieces, 2 1/8 inch piece. Just take one of them, they're both the same, doesn't matter. I'm going to bump up my ruler against the bottom of my first chipboard piece, hold that in place, and then align it with the edge of the tape and bump it up against my ruler. Don't push too hard because then you might push it down. And then the second piece is in place, and I'm going to repeat my spacer tape. If you don't want to use tape, you can also just draw a line at that 1/4 inch. I think that would be the easiest to go then. Oh, that was not so good. And then we go to our largest piece. So I'm going to shove it to the side a little bit. So make sure your height is in the right, that this piece is in the right orientation, right? You want it to line up on top and on bottom. I need to remove some tape backing here. There we go. So again, I'm using my ruler to bump up against the chipboard piece here at the bottom. Hold it in place and also line it up with the edge of the tape. And burnish that. Okay, after that large piece, again a spine piece. The 2 1/8 inch. So I'm doing the same thing again, right? I'm just using my ruler to line it up here at the bottom and use my tape as a guideline. And the last piece is our 7 inch piece. So one more time. There we go. And I can see that I'm going a little bit off, but it's not too bad. So my edge here is a little bit under an inch, but that's fine. That will be more than enough. I am going to cut it down here on this side because I have quite a long piece left, and I like to do that a little bit neat so I can use this part for something else. So what I like to do is just draw myself a line at 1 inch and put it in my paper trimmer. So this piece of cardstock is going to the side. Now I like to make a little pencil mark on where I'm going to miter my corners after I've placed my tape. And I have this chipboard piece here. I have a video for that on my channel, how I made it. It's really easy to make one for yourself. But there are also tools that you can buy for this, right? So maybe you have one of those. And then we are going to apply tape. And why do I like to make that pencil line? Because I'm going to use 3/8 inch tape along the edge of the cardstock. That's what I like to do. And this pencil line is helping me where I can start. So I'm just going to place it so that I know when I'm going to cut that I have nice end-to-end coverage of tape on that cut edge. And you don't have to go all the way to that corner because you're going to cut it away anyway. So that would be a complete waste of tape. And then you think, well, that's a short piece, but if you do it every time, it kind of adds up, right? And this tape is not cheap. Okay, so I'm going to do 3 8-inch tape on the edge of the cardstock, and then I'm that crazy person that uses all these different tape sizes. So I'm going to use a 1/4 inch on my chipboard edge. So I'm going to remove these tape backings, and sometimes my chipboard is going over it a little bit and it can make it a little bit hard to remove, but it looks like I am alright there. So those are removed. I don't throw them away, I put them to the side on my desk so I can place them back if I need to. I'm getting my 1/4 inch tape, start at the corner, bring it to the first gusset, and then I'm giving it a lot of space, so I'm just holding it where I'm not pulling on it, it's just hanging very loose here, and I'm going to push it in the gusset there, up against the chipboard edge, along the bottom of the gusset, up against the chipboard edge. And I'm going to do this with every gusset. This is just something that I prefer to do to reduce stress on tape and cardstock on your cover. And if you want to, I always forget. That's the reason that I don't do it, is because I just forget. Is you can use Tyvek on your spines here if you want to. You can absolutely do that to prevent ripping off your spines when you are using your album. Okay, so we're at the edge here, and I'm going to continue this along all 4 sides. Okay, another thing I like to do is get myself a scoring tool or an embossing tool, and well, you know, with a rounded head, and I'm going to score my cardstock. I'm up against the chipboard, but I'm on the cardstock, right? I'm just going to score all around. Okay, I kind of removed my cutting work surface for a minute because this is such a long piece. It's not fitting on there, so this is a little bit easier for me. We still need to cut on our corners. I haven't done that yet, so I'm going to cut on that pencil line that I've made. And what is important with this is that you have about 1 8-inch space in between your chipboard corner and the cut edge of your cardstock here. You need some room there, some overlapping. Okay, once I've done that, I'm going to pre-fold everything. So I'm going to push my project up against the work surface, folding over that cardstock. Don't go too fast. There we go again. It's a long piece, so it can be a little bit more difficult. Okay, so next up I like to start at a long side. So I'm going to peel away the tape backing. Let me zoom out a little bit so I can try to get the project in frame a little bit more. Yeah, I think this is a little bit better. I'm going to peel off the tape backing here. And also on the chipboard edge. This is just something that I like to do, right? If you only want to place tape on your cardstock, that's fine. If you only want to use wet glue, that's fine. Do whatever you do. I'm not here to tell you that this is the only way to do it. This is what I like to do, and for some things I have my reasons because I think it gives me a better result. But you know, there are more ways to do this than just one way, and they all work. It's just whatever you prefer. So I did some wet glue against that chipboard edge. That's also something that I like to do for a nice straight edge. And I'm going to burnish the cardstock up against that chipboard edge, and the wet glue, if you don't use too much, I have way too much over here for example, will help you to keep it there a little bit. And then I'm going to fold it over, so burnish it over the edge. I'm not pulling on the cardstock, I'm only holding it down a little bit. And then once I've went over a couple of times, I'm going to stick it down somewhere in the middle. And then work my way out. So I'm making movements up from top to bottom. Sometimes it's hard for me to explain things. And then I'm going to do that on the other side. So I'm working from the middle towards the edge of the project. There we go. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing on this long side. Okay, so this is all done. We need to do the short sides now. So we have that little bit of overlapping here on our corners. We need to fold that in a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this bone folder. I just have the different bone folders, and I have my bone folder that I prefer for certain jobs. I'm going to fold it in, so I'm laying it like this on top of it, and I'm folding it in. And then you're also going to try to make that as flat as you can. So when there are double layers, then you're just going to really push down on it. Try to make it as flat as you can. And you're going to do the same thing here on the bottom. For some reason on the bottom I always struggle a little bit more with getting it done neatly. I don't know why. Probably the movement that I need to make or something. And then really make that flat. Remove the tape backing. So I'm going to try to show you, but it's really hard to see on camera with the black what I did here. See, I have a little bit of something that doubled up there a little bit, so I just tried with my bone folder to really flatten that out a little bit. Now I'm going to again put some wet glue along the chipboard edge and just a little bit over there. Not too much because it will ooze out. And then repeat the steps for folding that flap over. And the short side always goes a little bit quicker, a little bit easier. And then this is how your corner should look like after folding it over. Nice and straight and covered. That's the most important thing, that it's covered and not naked. Okay, so I did the same thing here. Made those corners fold in and flat. Put some wet glue. And burnish that over. Okay, so the edges are wrapped over. Next thing that I'm going to do for every gusset, I'm going to burnish it into that gusset, the cardstock. So I'm going to put my hand under the cover to lift it up. What is it, about ½ an inch? Slightly. I'm going to get my bone folder and I'm going to put that in the gusset. You're not going to go down straight. You're going to angle your bone folder a little bit and burnish the cardstock up against the chipboard edge. So you do that to both sides. You're going to do that on top and bottom. And once you've done both top and bottom for a little bit, you can start lifting your cover up slightly. And just repeat that burnishing in the gusset until you can lift your cover up completely. You really want to break down those fibers, and then I'm gonna move up one gusset, do the same thing. That's one. I like to turn it over for the other side, and actually what is easier for me at least is to start on the inside gusset. Maybe you saw me struggling with that previous one a little bit. Okay, so now that this is all burnished, we should be able to close this. And I'm going to do it like this. But you can turn it around if you want to, but I'm going to do it like this. Okay, that looks good. Okay, next up we are going to cover up our spines with cardstock on the inside. So for that I've got two pieces, 9 inches by 7.5 inches. And we are going to use that to give this coverage, because we are not going to attach our binding on the spine. So for this piece, where you have your short part of the closure, I'm going to line it up where I have 1/8 of an inch on top and bottom and 1/8 of an inch from this edge here. And then we have enough room to go over this, the gusset area here. You have about 2 inches there. So I give this a very good coverage with double-sided tape. And I'm going to remove the tape backing partly, because, and I'm going to also use some wet glue with this. I like to combine it because it gives me some wiggle time, but also it's not going to stick down right away, and that's what I want. So we'll see how this goes, how easy I can remove that other tape backing. But I have removed it like halfway, put some double-sided some wet glue on there as well, and I'm going to try to go here about at 1/8 of an inch on top and bottom, and also from the edge. And I'm going to burnish it on this part until my first gusset. And I need to see how far does my tape go. Yeah, I think I'm going to need to remove this third one as well before we continue. Okay. So again, getting that bone folder, I'm going to burnish that cardstock in the gusset now before I continue. And lift that up to really push that in there, right? Okay, push that flat again. Now I am going to go onto my spine. And I need to remove my last piece of double-sided tape. Often when I do my bindings I do the same thing, and then I will put some wet glue here as well, but I'm going to try without now. And I don't want to have any tape overhang here. Okay, again, burnish it in the gusset. So I'm having my finger underneath here a little bit so it doesn't stick down now. Okay, open it back up and try to push it in. And my spacing tape helps here now, right? Because it's kind of sticking on there. It's not the best tape, so it's not super strong or anything, but it helps. And also I have tape on this piece of cardstock, right? So that is also sticking. Okay, so there we have it. That piece is in there. So now for this one, I'm just going to place it where I have about the same amount of space on both sides. So you could do with a little bit of a smaller piece here, but I thought it's just easiest to have two pieces that are in the same width. So what am I going to do? Let's leave this one on here. Let's remove the middle two strips in my case. And we are going to start on the spine, attaching it on the spine. So this area here I fill in with some glue. And again, I'm aiming for that 1/8 inch on top and bottom. Try to get it straight. Burnish it on the spine. now we're just going to start on one side. I'm going to push it in the gusset. And then remove that tape back in here. And work from my gusset outwards to the edge of the piece. So that's one. And now this should be somewhat easier, but I feel it's already sticking a little bit there, so I'm just doing my best to get it in there. Okay, and burnish this one. Even if you want to, now that I'm doing this, I'm thinking like maybe you could do this in one piece as well if you want. You can just make a 12-inch piece by 9 inches and start at with your 1/8 inch edge here as well. And then glue that down. So this is it for the cover. I will do the binding in a new video. So I see you in that video.